The United States New Hampshire State Quarter, dated 2000 with a D mint mark indicating it was struck at the Denver Mint, is part of the U.S. Mint's celebrated 50 State Quarters program, which ran from 1999 through 2008 and remains one of the most widely collected modern coin series in American history. Although the quarter itself bears the date 2000, the inscription 1788 commemorates the year New Hampshire became the ninth state to ratify the U.S. Constitution. The coin's reverse design honors one of the most famous natural landmarks in the state's identity, the Old Man of the Mountain, a five-cliff granite rock formation located on Cannon Mountain in the White Mountains of northern New Hampshire. When viewed from the proper angle, the rocks aligned to resemble the profile of an elderly man's face. This formation was a symbol of strength, independence, permanence, and New Hampshire pride for generations, and it appeared on state license plates, highway signs, tourism brochures, and even business logos. Sadly, the real old man collapsed naturally on May 3, 2003, but the quarter continues to preserve its image exactly as it looked before its fall. The New Hampshire quarter's design carries additional symbolic inscriptions that reflect the state's distinct character. At the top of the reverse appears the motto, "Live Free or Die," originally written by Revolutionary War hero General John Stark in 1809. This phrase, now the official state motto, has become one of the most recognized expressions of American independence and resistance to tyranny, emphasizing the rugged, self-determined spirit that New Hampshire residents associate with their heritage. Beneath the rock formation appears the inscription, "Old Man of the Mountain," precisely identifying the feature being memorialized. Like all state quarters, the coin also includes E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one, the traditional motto of the United States, signifying that despite the individuality of each state, they collectively form a single nation. The front obverse of the quarter displays the familiar portrait of George Washington, originally sculpted by John Flanagan in 1932, along with the inscriptions, "United States of America, Liberty, In God We Trust," and $quarter. Issued in 2000, the New Hampshire quarter was struck in enormous numbers due to the popularity of the state quarters program, which encouraged millions of people, including many who had never collected coins before, to seek out each state's design upon release. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins, so most examples found in circulation have modest numismatic value and are worth roughly face value, unless they remain in uncirculated condition or come from special sets such as mint sets, proof sets, or silver-proof sets, in which case they may carry a small premium. Collectors sometimes look for die varieties or minting errors, such as off-center strikes, die cracks, improperly plated planchets, or coins struck on the wrong metal blinks. Such errors can be significantly more valuable depending on rarity and visual appeal, though they are not common. For typical circulated 2000 D New Hampshire quarters, the real value is largely historical and educational rather than monetary. Culturally, the New Hampshire State Quarter is especially meaningful because it immortalizes a natural wonder that no longer exists. When the Old Man of the Mountain collapsed, people across the state mourned the loss as though they had lost a cherished community figure. The quarter now functions as a small historical record, reminder of the proud identity and rugged beauty associated with New Hampshire's granite landscape. It also marks a milestone in American coinage. The state quarters program encouraged public engagement with history, geography, and art more than any previous modern coinage initiative, making the New Hampshire quarter part of a series that changed the face of everyday U.S. currency for almost a decade. The combination of national motto, state motto, geological heritage, and early American history gives the 2000 D New Hampshire quarter a unique narrative within the vast timeline of United States the next top. The United States of America $quarter featuring North Carolina's first flight design, minted in 2001 with a D mint mark indicating production at the Denver Mint, is part of the celebrated 50 State Quarters program, one of the most popular circulating coin series in American history. The date range 1789 to 2001 on the reverse commemorates North Carolina's admission to the Union in 1789 and the release year of the quarter in 2001, symbolizing over 2 centuries of statehood. The obverse front carries the familiar portrait of George Washington, originally sculpted by John Flanagan in 1932 and slightly modified for the state quarters beginning in 1999. Around Washington's bust appear the inscriptions United States of America, Liberty, In God We Trust, and $quarter. The phrase, "In God We Trust," has been used on U.S. coinage since the 19th century and became mandatory on all U.S. currency by law in the 20th century. Its presence on the North Carolina quarter continues this national tradition. Turning to the reverse back, the design celebrates one of humanity's most significant technological achievements, the first powered, sustained, controlled airplane flight, accomplished by Orville and Wilbur Wright on December 17, 1903, at Kill Devil Hills near Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. The coin's central imagery features the Wright Flyer, depicted just moments after takeoff, with Orville Wright lying prone at the controls and Wilbur running alongside, emphasizing both the experimental nature of the craft and the real-time human effort involved in the success of early aviation. Above the image is the inscription North Carolina, while beneath the aircraft appears the phrase First Flight, recognizing the event that forever changed transportation, engineering, warfare, communication, and global society. Also on the reverse is the national motto, E Pluribus Unum, Latin for out of many, one, a foundational expression of the United States' identity as a nation formed from many states and cultures. It is included on every state quarter to maintain continuity with traditional federal coinage. Designed by artist John Mercandi, the North Carolina quarter was the 12th coin issued in the 50-state quarters program, which released 5 new state designs per year from 1999 to 2008, each honoring a different state's history, culture, or achievements. The coin is composed of a copper, nickel-clad alloy, with a pure copper core bonded to outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it durability and the silver-colored appearance familiar in modern American coinage. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of these quarters for circulation in 2001, making them common in everyday commerce, though well-preserved uncirculated or proof examples, especially those with strong luster and flawless surfaces, are of higher interest to collectors. The design has become iconic not only because it honors North Carolina's state heritage, but also because it highlights a moment that marked the dawn of the modern technological age, making the 2001 North Carolina First Flight quarter a small but powerful reminder of human curiosity, innovation, and the enduring American spirit of exploration. The next hop. The phrase freedom and unity and the relevant histotates of America 2001 D. Vermont State Quarter is part of the celebrated 50 State Quarters program, a historic series issued by the U.S. Mint from 1999 to 2008 that aimed to educate the public about the nation's diverse states and generate renewed interest in coin collecting. And the Vermont Quarter, struck with the D. Mint mark at the Denver Mint in the year 2001, carried on this mission by blending national symbolism with distinctive regional identity. The date 1791 on the coin refers to Vermont's admission to the Union as the 14th state, marking the end of its unique period as an independent republic and formally inserting it into the expanding tapestry of the early United States, while the date 2001 signifies the year of the quarter's release, occurring within the third year of the 50-state quarters program. During a time in which millions of Americans were eagerly watching their pocket change for new designs and millions more were purchasing mint sets and collector folders to capture each new state release. The standard obverse of the coin, designed by the sculptor John Flanagan and used with only slight modifications for decades, features the familiar portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States, a design originally created for the 1932 Washington Quarter and brought back due to its historical significance, continuity, and public recognition, and around Washington's profile appear inscriptions that have anchored American coinage for generations. United States of America, identifying the nation of issuance, liberty, representing a foundational American ideal embraced since the Revolutionary era. In God We Trust, the national motto adopted officially in 1956, but present on U.S. coinage long before that, and the denomination $quarter, indicating the coin's face value of 25 cents. The reverse of the Vermont Quarter, however, sets this coin apart from earlier issues by celebrating the state's natural beauty, historical character, and civic values. The design depicts a late winter maple sugar scene, prominently featuring Camel's Hump, one of the most recognizable mountains in the Green Mountain Range, rising in the distance as a backdrop to the central imagery of maple trees with sap buckets and a person collecting sap, symbolizing Vermont's long-standing maple sugaring tradition, which has roots reaching back to indigenous methods practiced by the Abenaki people and carried through centuries of New England agriculture. And this design is paired with the inscription "Freedom and Unity," the official state motto of Vermont, a phrase that captures a philosophical balance between individual liberties and the cohesion of the larger community, an idea deeply ingrained in Vermont's history as a place of independent thinking, egalitarian traditions, civic activism, and early progressivism, including notable stances on land ownership, social equality, and democratic representation. Above this reverse design appears the enduring Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, a phrase symbolizing the unity of the American states into a single nation, adopted by the United States in 1776 and stamped on American coinage for centuries as a reminder that while the nation is composed of many states, cultures, and peoples, it is joined as one republic, a theme that dovetails elegantly with Vermont's own motto, revealing an interesting philosophical alignment between state identity and the broader national ethos. Regarding minting, the Denver Mint, D, produced hundreds of millions of these quarters for circulation, and they entered pockets, purses, cash registers, and coin rolls across the nation starting in 2001, while additional higher-grade examples were made for mint sets and collector products. And because the 50-state quarters program was intended both to educate and to engage the public, these coins quickly became some of the most widely collected modern U.S. coinage in history, encouraging millions, children, adults, seasoned hobbyists, and newcomers, to learn about state histories, geography, symbolism, and cultural identity, transforming an everyday object of commerce into a small window into American heritage. The Vermont Quarter, in particular, reflected the state's profound connection to land and nature, its forests, mountains, and tradition of maple sugaring, a practice that remains culturally and economically important to the region, and the image of sap buckets on sugar maples captures a seasonal ritual deeply associated with New England life, in which freezing nights and warming days trigger sap flow, allowing farmers and sugar makers to prepare the syrup that has become a hallmark of Vermont agriculture. The inclusion of Camel's Hump was not accidental either. Its distinct double-hump silhouette and its prominence in hiking culture make it one of the state's most beloved natural landmarks, and its appearance on the quarter ties the coin's imagery to land stewardship, outdoor recreation, conservation values, and the pride Vermonters take in their rugged yet serene landscape. Meanwhile, the phrase "freedom and unity" dates back to the founding of Vermont and the framing of its early constitution, which was one of the first in the world to explicitly ban adult slavery, guarantee universal male suffrage without property requirements, and promote broad civil participation, demonstrating that even in the 18th century, Vermont took progressive actions that set it apart from many other American states, and the motto reflects the idea that personal freedom should coexist with shared civic responsibility, echoing the early settlers' fierce independence blended with communal cooperation needed to survive life in a rural agrarian environment. As with all state quarters, the Vermont issue served not only as circulating currency, but also as a miniature educational token, with its imagery prompting questions about the state's culture, economy, and ideals, encouraging both children and adults to learn more about topics such as maple sugaring, the formation of states, the expansion of the Union, and the evolution of American democracy. Its inscriptions: United States of America, Liberty, In God We Trust, E Pluribus Unum, Vermont, Freedom and Unity, 1791 and 2001. Together weave a narrative linking the nation's founding principles with the local heritage of one small but historically significant state, and collectors often appreciate how this particular quarter visually balances the quiet rhythm of rural life with the grandeur of natural scenery, providing a nuanced portrayal of Vermont's identity. Today, decades after its release, the 2001 D Vermont quarter remains a common but culturally rich coin, still found in circulation and still admired by collectors for its historical resonance, artistic imagery, and its contribution to one of the most successful numismatic programs ever undertaken by the U.S. Mint. And while most examples hold only modest monetary value, their real worth lies in their ability to connect everyday Americans with the stories of the country's states, ideals, landscapes, and shared history, making the Vermont quarter a small but meaningful artifact of American culture and a thoughtful reminder of how even ordinary currency can tell extraordinary stories about a nation and its people. The next stop. The United States of America quarter dollar dated 2001, D, belonging to the 50 State Quarters program, is the official state quarter issued to honor Kentucky, the 15th state admitted to the Union. Although the obverse of this coin carries the traditional portrait of George Washington first sculpted by John Flanagan in 1932, the design was slightly modified during the state quarters era by artists working for the U.S. Mint to sharpen details and adjust lettering visibility. The inscriptions United States of America, Liberty, In God We Trust, and quarter dollar appear on the obverse, along with the mint mark D for the Denver Mint. What makes this coin especially interesting is its reverse design, created specifically to capture Kentucky's identity and heritage. Chosen through a public submission and review process, the design showcases Federal Hill, the iconic historic house in Bardstown widely known as My Old Kentucky Home, a symbol deeply tied to the state's cultural history, including its connection to Stephen Foster's famous song of the same name. In front of the mansion stands an elegantly posed thoroughbred horse, viewed through a stone fence, symbolizing Kentucky's world-renowned horse farms and equestrian tradition. Above the scene is the motto, E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one, a long-standing phrase representing unity among the states. Beneath the design appear the inscriptions Kentucky and 1792, the year Kentucky achieved statehood, as well as 2001, the year the coin was issued. The Kentucky Quarter was the 15th release in the 50 State Quarters program, which ran from 1999 through 2008 and became one of the most successful numismatic initiatives in U.S. history, inspiring millions of Americans to begin collecting coins. The 2001 Kentucky Quarter was produced by the Denver Mint in large numbers, making it common in everyday circulation. Nonetheless, collectors still appreciate high-grade examples, especially those with sharp strikes and minimal wear. The combination of historical imagery, state pride, and symbolic meaning makes this coin more than just a piece of pocket change. It serves as a small but detailed monument to Kentucky's architectural legacy, musical heritage, and equine culture. Even today, over 2 decades after release, the quarter remains one of the series' most recognizable designs, continuing to tell a story of a state known for its rolling bluegrass hills, its traditions, its history, and the enduring charm of My Old Kentucky Home, framed forever within a tiny canvas of American coinage.